Morning, Your Honor. Colleen Curtin Gable on behalf of the people. The next matter before the court is the people of the state of New York against Dylan Schumaker under indictment number 00499 of 2013.
At this time, does the people have someone from the victim side that want to make a statement?
Yes, Your Honor. You need to state your name, please.
My name is Michael Smith.
Thank you.
On the night of March 19th, my family's life was decimated because this did not have to happen. He had numerous opportunities to get help, to ask for help. He chose not to. I just ask that you take into consideration our family's feelings and what we've lost and what can never be replaced. We'll never get our Austin back. And we'll never have that piece of our heart filled. It'll always be empty because Austin's no longer with us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And on behalf of his client.
I do, Your Honor. Yesterday, Dylan Schumaker turned 17. When this crime was committed, he was 2 months into his 16th year. There has been a great deal of scientific work as to the lack of development in terms of comparison of a teenage brain to an adult brain. Our laws are geared for adult brains, how they think, not for the impulsivity of a teenager who had significant problems growing up, behavioral problems, aggression problems, anger problems. I had hoped that by having my client testify and by virtually cross-examining him during his direct examination, that would make an impact on the trial jury. Evidently, it didn't make enough of an impact because I thought the jury selected the most harsh and unreasonable option that they could in this trial verdict. And Mr. Smith, who spoke here, is right. It didn't have to happen. Somebody's got to think critically and clearly in this courtroom today. I want to point out that he's right. It didn't have to happen. If Mr. Smith's family had not thrown Ashley and her children out of the home, they wouldn't have ended up at Dylan's home, where he could babysit Austin for maybe the first time, completely inequipped to do so. For now, we're going to have to live with the verdict, filing a notice of appeal immediately after this session. Here's what I really want to say to the court. Judge, you are the last line of reason in this case. Only you, because the jury's function doesn't include sentencing. You do, and you can take the community's interest at heart. You can look realistically at who Dylan Schumaker is. You got to know him. You testified at trial. You got to observe him the entire time. You got to see when a picture of Austin in the condition Austin was found in the hospital, appeared on these TV screens in the courtroom. You saw his reaction. He's remorseful. There's no question about it in every sense of that word. You can't bring up Austin's name without him virtually breaking down and in uncontrollable tears. When he was questioned, most of the proof in this case came from my client. His multiple statements to the police in which he admitted what he did. And he admitted what he did on the witness stand. But now it comes down to sentencing and your judgment, Your Honor. Of course, my client's well aware you can give him 25 years to life. I've told him it's 25 years on the calendar before you're eligible for parole. Or this court can balance everything that occurred here, including the fact that Austin Smith was completely defenseless. That's a given. But there were other dynamics at work there, including my client's inability to either control his anger or frustration and his inexperience in babysitting. And you can say that 15 years to life is the appropriate sentence in this case. Because that's your job, Judge, to dispassionately look at all sides and say, that's what is appropriate in this case. Because you have to balance all the factors here. It would be easy for the court. I've never been a judge, so I've never had that obligation placed on me. To say, well, the jury convicted him of murder. All these people here are saying, don't let him out. Keep him in for the rest of his life. He took someone's life. We can't see Austin anymore. Why should Dylan be able to see his family? Such as that is.
What about the protection of the community? If he gets out in 15 years, based on his short life now, what is to say he won't do this again?
Well, we don't know that. I think it's completely unlikely. It was a situational, circumstantial thing. Nobody's suggesting, I don't think the court has any basis to suggest that my client's a serial killer. And as soon as he gets out, he'll be snarling to get at another kid. That's totally unrealistic. We never know that. We can't predict that. But you can deal with what you know right now, and know that in 15 years he's going to come out of jail as an adult, not a 16-year-old charged with responsibilities that he couldn't handle and he wasn't capable of handling. Thank you.
Judge, I can't say much more than what is in the victim impact statement and what Mr. Smith obviously said. But I think to blame anyone but Dylan Schumaker for this child's death flies in the face of the evidence. He was not an inexperienced babysitter. It's not something every 16-year-old does when he babysits. You know his character from what he did in school, things the jury never heard, and I'm sure that you'll take all of that into account.
Can I be heard again?
Certainly.
Let's not be one-dimensional here. Let's look at reality. Nobody's placing blame. My client has accepted responsibility over and over and over again, not only in his sworn written statements immediately after the incident, but in the trial. He's accepted responsibility for what he did. Now, my comments don't place blame on anyone. I say the court must look at the entire forest, not the trees, and say, but for the actions of certain adults, my client would not have been in the situation he was in at the time the crime was committed. And you know that, I know it, and the people involved know it. They just don't want to say it or believe it. Thank you.
Dylan Schumaker, for someone who just turned 17 years old.
Your Honor, my client didn't have a chance to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right, Counselor. I'm sorry. What would you like to say?
Your Honor, as you can see in my school records, I was trying to change my life around. In 2013, I was doing so much better. This completely turned my life. I can't take back what was done. I wish I could. I would give my life for Austin. I loved him a lot. Him and Christopher were half the reason I was even staying with Ashley. I felt bad for them kids because they didn't have a place to stay. I thought Christopher was mine, and he wasn't. I was trying to do something that my father never did for me, and be there. Ashley, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your son. And you know I didn't mean to hurt you. You just can't accept that. Because you know me. You've known me for 5 years. I never would have wanted to hurt Austin. I never wanted Austin to die. I don't know what I was doing. I don't know why I didn't go for help. I wanted to be able to handle it. I wanted to be everything that my father wasn't to me, and everything my stepfather was to me. I don't have a good family life. I haven't my whole life. It's been really rough. Most of my family's abandoned me. I made a stupid choice a couple of years ago, and I ruined half of my family. And the other half haven't been supportive. But I do want to thank them for being here today. I know their family isn't here. Thank you guys for being here. Ashley, I'm sorry. Austin, I'm sorry. That's all. Thank you, Your Honor.
Sir, for someone who just turned 17 years old, you have caused so much pain, so much grief, and so much despair to so many, many people. I have carefully read the victim impact statement containing letters from 13 people and consisting of 44 pages. My attention was directed at page 1. A picture of a beautiful baby boy, a toddler, who you killed. Michael Smith, Austin's grandfather, states, "I will never forgive Dylan for what he has done." He at least feels that you are not remorseful for what you did. He is simply scared of what will happen to him. Well, I'm sure Austin was even more scared. Sarah Smith, the grandmother, states, "The doctor allowed her to go back, and I went back with her. What I saw haunts me to this day. My sweet angel was lying perfectly still on a bed with bruises all over his face, neck, and arms, and his tube stuck out of his blue lips. I kissed him goodbye, told him I loved him, and carried his mommy out of the room." She also said, "This is the last thing the baby saw was the person who killed him." Hannah Ebert, a family friend, said, "There is no excuse and no valid reason to take a child's life, none. There are too many options and choices he could have made before he let anger and violence overtake him. He could have just picked up the phone and made one phone call to stop it. And to know that he repeatedly hit and abused Austin shows that he intentionally took Austin's life.
No, I didn't.
Dylan is 16 years old, and he is old enough to know right from wrong. The testimony brought forth at trial was gut-wrenching. It was gut-wrenching for me. Make no mistake, this is what I believe. At 16, you knew right from wrong. Had a bad childhood, had some troubles. At 16, you knew not to keep pounding your fist on that pillow with that little baby's head there. The last hours of Austin's life must have been terrifying for that little boy. By your own testimony, you placed a pillow over his head while he was lying on the bed. Due to the pillow, he couldn't see. Probably he had a hard time breathing, and then you repeatedly punched him so hard as to cause his death by bleeding on the brain. That little boy had to be terrified. Austin trusted you. Now this is what he trusted you. And from the testimony, it appeared that boy loved you. What a betrayal of trust. After listening to your testimony at trial, and I'm sorry, your attorney will object to this, but I did listen to it. After listening to your testimony at trial, I came away with the impression that you minimize your actions, that you are a manipulator, and you try to deceive. The record will show that you admitted that on July 23rd, 2013, in a phone call to your mother from the holding center, you stated, and I got a quote from the court reporter, "I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me," end quote. That statement speaks volumes to me. The night you offered to babysit Austin, you were busy on your cell phone, texting over 200 times, trying to sell drugs and to set up a sexual tryst with another minor girl. It doesn't seem to me as someone who is trying to be a good role model for the child. Too bad that was not all you did. Ignore the kid, try to sell drugs on the phone. No, when the texting stopped, the brutal poundings of Austin took place. It is a judgment of this court that upon your conviction for the crime of murder in the second degree, that you be sentenced to an indeterminate term of imprisonment which will have a maximum of life. The court hereby imposes a minimum sentence of 25 years. The surcharge is $300, the crime victim's assistance fee is $25, and the $50 DNA databank fee, all to be paid out of prison funds. You have 30 days within which to file a notice of appeal.
Thank you, Your Honor.